This is not the time that I like in the year where it's 8:20 and it's pitch dark. I know a lot of you don't like daylight savings time, but I say to you, you're wrong. You are wrong. So we're headed home from work a little early. And I'm going to do a morning report when I get home, but I wanted to do this video take-home edition. I've done take-home editions before, is what I call it. I should have called it go-home editions, but I've done take-home editions before, but usually they're just audio, and I put them up on Spreaker. And if I put it up on Spreaker, it ends up on Spotify and all the places that Spreaker distributes. But today I decided I would do a video take-home edition, because we're getting closer and closer to the general election. And we need to start having some real conversations. What has me most interested is not necessarily what's going to happen at the federal level. And I don't know what's going to happen on the federal level. It isn't like I'm not paying attention to it. Who knows what's going to happen at the federal level? But what I do know is that if there is not some extreme intervention that's going to happen at the state level here in Florida, we're going to be a much different state than we really hope to be. And I'm still harping on Amendment 3 and Amendment 4. The Amendment 3 is the legalize marijuana for recreational use amendment, and Amendment 4 is abortion on demand. Because if these two initiatives pass, Florida turns into California without the state income tax. And what's even crazier for me is that I think that the next thing that the left will put on the ballot in this petition initiative BS is a state income tax. I do. That's how they get it passed. And then Florida basically turns into California with a state income tax, with abortion on demand, with smoke pot whenever you want. That's what happens. And it happens under Republican leadership. It happens when Republicans in the state of Florida have caught up, at least, with the number of Democrats that are registered in the state of Florida. Basically, our way of life, the things that we're known for, the conservative approach in Florida that we're known for, is really at stake. It is on the ballot. It's on the ballot, and it's in the balance. And I know I sound like Chicken Little and the sky is falling. But if you think about what I just said, you know that I'm not wrong. You know that I am not wrong. The last time that it was funny, and I've told the story before. The last time that I was in California was for Politicon. I think in 2018, something like that. And Shirley Huzar, who I miss dearly, had rented a couple of rooms, I think, Or maybe, no, I think it was just me, because, I don't know, she always took care of me. Instead of putting me in a hotel somewhere, or having me stay with one of her kids or whatever, I was in, where was I? I was in a place called 1010 Wilshire. And 1010 Wilshire is an apartment complex, but what they also do is they, people who cook corporations have, they rent hotels for the people who are visiting, LA to stay in. And anyway, so I was in this apartment complex. It was an Airbnb. And when I walked into the door, it's very, very nice. And I got in the elevator and I was like, damn, somebody's been smoking pot in here. Now, I wasn't going to run down to the desk and go, there's pot smoking going on here. That wasn't me. I was like, oh, well, whatever. And I get and the elevator door opens to the hallway where the apartment is. And it isn't like anybody's been hotboxing in there, but there is a very strong smell of marijuana. I happen to think that the smell of marijuana is awful. I do. I just happen to think the smell of marijuana is awful. I also think that the smell of cigarettes is terrible too. But that's just me. So it just hit me, and once I got into the apartment, I got away from it. It wasn't so terrible. But I thought, well, maybe I was just behind somebody in the elevator that was lighting up, and they were in the hallway right before I got there. But I went to leave the next day. They were coming to pick me up, so I went to go downstairs and open the apartment door. Bam! Slam! More heavy marijuana smell. I'm like, damn, really? In the elevator? Not as much in the lobby. But and it's like everywhere I go in this town, it smells like weed. What the heck? Walk down the street, go to the Starbucks to get something to eat that night, smell like weed in the Starbucks. Well, okay, I went to the Starbucks before the CEO of Starbucks said that they didn't want people who were pro-life in their stores anymore. So that was before that. So once he said that, I have abided by their wishes. Well, they don't get my $7. I know it's bringing them to their damn knees, but whatever. In any case, I don't want Florida to be that. I don't want Florida to be that. And I don't want Florida to be abortion on demand. It's funny. I saw a commercial when I was in Tallahassee this past week, avoiding the storm. And I think one of the people said, maybe it was on the internet, you could still, even in Florida, you can still get an abortion. It's not illegal here. Especially if if your health at any time, women, if your health is in danger at any time in your pregnancy, the doctor says, it's going to be, you are risking your health. There isn't anything in Florida that stops you from getting an abortion, no matter what those commercials are saying. Some of those commercials are saying that you can't get an abortion. There's an abortion ban well before most people know they're pregnant. That is simply not true. And one of the commercials says that you have to wait until you are on death's door in order for an abortion to happen. And that's not true either. They're simply lying. They're just in a panic, and they're lying. And they're trying to get people to be upset and nervous and bolt them into action that way. So, just as in general principle, for ballot initiatives that come from petitions, I always vote no. And I'll tell you why I vote no. I'll tell you again why I vote no. I vote no because the thing that's written on the petition is not the law. That's what people read it and they think that's what they're approving. That's what they're signing on to. They are not. The law and all of the stuff that goes with the law has not been written. That has to go backwards through the process to the legislature, and then they get to write the rules. Or the companies like in in Amendment 3, the companies that are pushing this, because there are large weed companies, big weed, it's crazy, big weed is pushing this, why? For profit. For profit. Pure profit. And what they're saying is, well, if you buy your weed from Trulieve or one of their weed shops, then the tax money will go to schools and help children. So they're saying, hey, smoke this dope, get high, and the money goes to kids. Isn't that great? If you want to help the children, then you should allow us to sell weed. How horrible! How horrible are these people? And they've got sheriffs in the state of Florida. Sheriffs in the state of Florida doing commercials, asking people to vote yes on 3. Sheriffs, law enforcement officers who've seen the danger of some of these drugs. Now I know you're going to go, well, I mean, there's no danger in marijuana, and there's no such thing as as an entry drug. Almost certainly there is, and marijuana is one of them. And I'll tell you why. Not in the way that you're thinking. Not that if you smoke pot, you will necessarily crave something stronger. That's not necessarily true. But it puts people, especially kids, in environments with people who are experimenting with drugs that are more dangerous. It puts them in harm's way when they don't have to be. So let's not do that. Let's not do that. Here's the other part, and I mentioned this in a video I did. I don't know if I actually posted that video, but I'll mention it again. Marijuana is still, possession of marijuana is still a federal crime. So who's to say, and we've had this problem here in Florida, we've had this conversation with people who are, their charges are getting upgraded to federal charges, which puts them in the federal judicial system. Do we want that? Because, okay, so you can't charge them with marijuana possession as a state crime, but you could damn sure charge them with a federal crime. Do we want that? Oh, yes, a bait and switch. It's the old okie doke. So you get pulled over because you can't drive, because your driving sucks, and the Tampa police officer smells a strong odor of marijuana in the car. And right now, without a blood test, there isn't any way to see if you were high. Any way on the road to see if you were high. They could do a field sobriety test, I guess. And then when you get to jail, they have to do a blood test or a hair test or something. And they couldn't bust you for the drugs you had in the car because you have a receipt from Trulieve. But you know what they could do? They could bring the feds in on you and charge you with, and the feds would charge you with a federal crime. That you could end up in, and not state prison, but you could end up in a federal penitentiary for something that's that's legal in your state. You could still end up in federal, in federal prison. You hear what I'm saying? So the best solution is not to legalize it. Other states that have legalized pot, like Colorado and the like, all the negative things that I'm talking about have actually happened. So let's not do that. So let's vote no on 3. Let's vote no on legalizing, codifying Roe and part of the Florida state constitution. Let's just say no. Let's just do that. And frankly, those are the 2 things, in this November election, frankly, that I am most concerned with. I am truly most concerned with. Because if Trump is the president and and Florida legalizes abortion, what the hell am I doing? Even if Trump is the president and Florida has legalized abortion, and the same people who wrote the Michigan law are now going to force taxpayers to pay for abortions, what am I doing? Why am I participating? Why am I doing videos? What am I doing? You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. So that's where we are with that. When we get home, when I get to the studio of the house, we're going to have some dinner, and then we're going to do put this video up, and then we're going to do a video about the presidential election and how we need to navigate the next 20 days or so. Because this is going to be in our lap very, very soon. I'll tell you when, if you are a Florida viewer, when early voting starts, and I'll encourage you, if you're not in the state of Florida, to find out when early voting starts and vote then, and I'll tell you why in the video. I'll tell you why in that video. So go ahead and click on the link that shows up in the end screen of this one. Why it's important to vote in every every phase. So I know that people have said, especially Republicans and so-called conservatives, don't early vote, because then they'll know how many votes to get. Don't early vote. Early vote. Vote by mail, absentee votes, and vote in person. Not all 3, but don't cut one off. Don't say, I'm only going to vote the day of, and then something happens and you can't vote the day of. Well, I'm going to vote by mail. I always vote by mail. And then you know what? You say you're going to vote by mail, and guess what happens? Something happens, and then your ballot doesn't get there. Because you forget to put it in the mailbox. Or, something happens. I am an early voter. And in the other video that I'm going to do in the morning report here in a little bit, that ought to be put up tonight by midnight, I'll tell you why I early vote. And I think it's a great reason, and I think you should use that reason too. All right, we got to get out of here and make room for somebody else. And so until we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, y'all take care of yourself. We will see you when we see you. Bye-bye now.